So, my name is Sunny. I am the host of Beyond the Blueprint. In these podcasts that are being created, it's to introduce, to get the faces of construction leaders in any kind of capacity, from site supers, owners, some sort of leadership. And that is to bring to the table that we are in the tools of the trade. And with the buzzword of AI coming out here, certain sectors are moving ahead of us, so I need to get more information out. Today we have Alex. I'm sorry I didn't say your name properly. If I did, I can't say your last name properly. But Alex, could you please introduce yourself, what you do, how long you've been in this industry? The audience wants to know who you are.
His full name is Alexander Dvinanin. Last name is access fine for this reason. A design firm in Dallas, Texas, with business. But for this firm, probably 4+ years. Been in the industry since 2014. Here from New York City, I was actually doing something else completely different. Was in the marketing world in New York City, so kind of changed directions because construction was really still booming, and I was really interested in it. So it was kind of like literally initially, just give you a little boring background, is that I thought I wanted to do marketing once I moved here. Probably six-figure salary in New York, and now I'm starting back to like very small. Like again, I applied. The company's like, you don't have any experience, but you also overqualified at the same time. So I helped them with marketing. They taught me how to essentially, run a construction company, and I worked there, partner us together, and we're like, I think we want to start our own thing. So then that's kind of where we are now. So I guess to describe it, it's kind of description on our Instagram or most places where we are a luxury high-end residential landscape design build firm in Dallas. Now take a look at hopefully you can put up our links. You can see that some of our work, it's proud of what we do and just trying to get better with every product.
Yeah. Near the end of the job, like the format that I follow, near the end of the project podcast, I'll let you introduce yourself, not introduce yourself, to give you the links for your email address, or your phone number or your website. So, and I'll put that in the Zoomcast, and all the material will be sent to you as well. I do have a couple questions just from your introduction. Partnership. So there is what do you think is the concrete essential ingredients for a good, strong partnership, especially in the industry, in the construction industry, where there's a lot of moving parts?
I think it's an individual decision. For me, I have friends actually. One of the reasons I went also a landscape architectural firm. I think he actually has other businesses down in South Carolina. Fellow foreigner like myself, and he has a partner as well, but he runs I think a lot of the firm himself. For me personally, it's kind of like give and take, where some people my skills are complement his, he complements mine. My partner is a landscape architect. I would say he kind of hates when I say this, but I would put him against anybody in the business. He's probably the best designer, best architect I've ever met. Really good vision, really good on details. I mean, I've from him. So I feel like I'm not an architect. Went to school for it. He has a natural gift. I'm more of a people person. I'm operations. That's what I do. So I think complementing each other is key. And sometimes if you're really foresight and you really think about that, okay, that's the way you do it. Sometimes, him and I kind of were friends and we worked in the same company. So we didn't manufacture this like, oh, okay, you do this, I do this. But in some ways, you're like, oh, you do this, well, I don't do this thing. Maybe you can do this part and I can do this part, and therefore we could see how it works ultimately. Like I just saw a post the other day saying, as you build a company, you end up realizing building yourself as a part of it to build a business. So I think
It's
like
well
the
said.
person you are and the person you have to evolve to become in order to run something for sure have flexibility, or are you flexible? You're not. Those are really gonna, test you. So, and him and I certainly had plenty of tests.
So my follow-up question with that, and I didn't want to get up with the design build aspect here, is a lot of people, scalability is what certain people want. And one thing I've learned, or spoken to a couple of people, is the reflection of how you're going to scale, going up and being able to have meetings once a quarter, half a year, whatever it may be. Do you and your partner have these kind of meetings individually? What's the frequency? Do you have these meetings? What is the timeline where you guys review your goals on a basis or as a company?
Again, it's just him and it's two of us, so we don't have like a ton of employees that work directly for us. So we have captured subcontractors, so it's people that work for us pretty much on consistent basis, but they're not direct employees. So it's oftentimes it's not an official discussion, but you know, him and we don't have like a schedule, which maybe it's a good idea having those so firm. And the goal in so far is you're trying to grow, you're trying to get enough projects and enough. I think once you develop that, that's when you're like, okay, where are we going with this? What's the goal? I think we've identified pretty well as far as strategies. Like we tend to lean pretty much heavily on residential. We try to focus on high-end residential. We've done some commercial work. It's a whole different beast, different contracts, different insurance, different, just a whole different, payment structure. So I think we've identified that. And sometimes, I've noticed that with other businesses, you you essentially, again, adaptability and flexibility is key, because I think you might start as this. You say, this is my goal, this is what I want to do. And as you go, you realize you're like, oh, there's here, or there's it's not as good as I thought, but this direction is better. We've kind of stayed on course with what we wanted to do. So we really didn't change much, but we definitely had some opportunities. And we even passed on quite a few clients because it just felt that it wasn't, even though as much as you want business, you realize sometimes it's not the right fit. And we certainly had clients who got burned on as well, but you do your best vet as much as you can. So as far as, to go back to answer your question, is we don't have official meetings where we discuss scalability. I think because we're still fairly young, and right now goal is to really have a consistent volume of work at the quality that we want, where we're like, okay, it's now, and I think we're very much young to the point we're still establishing our name.
Mm.
We've made ton of progress, ton of contacts, ton of referrals. It's still, there's still plenty of room to grow.
So then, in that the lead generation and so forth, it's all word of mouth, or is that more?
We've done very little marketing. Most of it has been referral, builders, architects. We've done very little paid social presence. But yeah, I think the issue becomes is that it's not that you can't market, but for us, in particular, the clients that we are after, which is again high-end residential clients, they don't tend to be, looking for contractors on Facebook or
Yeah.
even Instagram. It's a word of mouth, or they have a listed sort of handful, like want that market space. So it's like break into it is how, once you get in there, because again, it's a crowded space, but I think at certain level, if you want to be on a highline, that's what we want, high end. It's not that crowded, but breaking into it is a bit tough.
Oh, it's great. Um, just switching gears, you mentioned about design build. So your partner does all the design. So do you guys? Sorry, before I do this, there's one thing that I wanna the term that I'm coining here is HI, human intelligence. Right. So you've been burned by a couple clients. You've been received a couple of jobs and so forth. I think that takes gut. I'm just summarizing for the audience here. And if it's not broken, why fix it? It seems like you're following that kind of mold, that you know what space you're in, you're doing your work very efficiently, which allows you to perform at the very highest level. Sometimes people are giving up scalability or growth over quality, and it sounds like you're not doing that. Am I right when I say that, Alex?
Yeah, I think again, it's kind of like we also dealing with two people, two partners. So him and I have a different personalities. Also, you want to be aligned on the goals that you want to perceive. And I think, he's very high on details, which is again, in our space, unfortunately, we find not a lot of people are, as much as everyone will tell you that. So I think sometimes there's like, and I think he has a very good point where you want to focus on be better at what you do instead of like grabbing as much work as possible. Because again, sometimes people lose themselves with volume and saying, oh my God, I'm going to make
Yeah.
more money, which is like the quality is not there. Again, it's your own priorities,
Yep.
whatever's important to you. But I think that's kind of what we nailed down, is that if pay benefits for going forward, it may be slow burn, it may be slow growth, versus trying to grab up as much work as possible and just kind of half-ass it because you're so busy and you don't have time. And like I remember, one of my first landscape architecture firm that I worked at, I spent a year and a half there, and there was a CFO who was basically like 70-some-year-old Wall Street guy, and he's consulted for so many companies in the like working with him, and I'll feel like I got like an MBA, unofficial MBA, because he's like would teach you things. And whoever was listening to, because a lot of guys in construction would be like, this white guy, finance, he doesn't know construction. And he's like, guys, it's all the same. You're making toilets, you're making rockets, you're building plants, blending plants. It's all the same. It's operation, it's logistics, it's all those things. And he's right. And he said, he's like, I've consulted many companies. One thing I could tell you is most companies, small or big, they're flying by the seat of it.
Yeah.
And I've, certainly envisioned that we're working with people in our industry website. They look like they know what they're doing. And then you actually start working with them. You're like, they don't know what they're doing. And
Yeah.
they might be in business for 20 some years.
No. I keep certain things about my past here, but I could tell you this. I was with the company for a couple of years, and I saw the writing on the wall because they try to expand, and I was there signifying the growth. And they went from 30 million to 65 million in 1 year, from 65 to 85, and it was incremental. But at the 65 mark, right, we were voicing you need some infrastructural things. You can't expand and not, grow your base. There was fundamental disagreements. I left. A year later, filed for divorce. Here's a company that was making, because now they were just after that revenue, right? And not worried about their quality and so forth. So then the cost of rework was in the millions, because when they were at 30 million, they were able to identify the cost of rework, because rework is a huge expenditure for us in construction, right? We don't have the same luxury, because sometimes you're in the landscape business, but let's just say or a custom home. What if the plumbing was done wrong? Then the plumber's gone. Then the electricals is like, well, you hijacked my wall. The cost of rework is exponential for us, and it's that communication along that way. Do you use programs? Just curious, Alex. Do you use any, not even accounting softwares, but any estimating softwares, any things to track? AutoCAD. It might be as simple as AutoCAD. Is there anything that you guys use to track to ensure that let's just say the piping is done to the quality, or even a record keeping system? Is there anything along those natures?
Standpoint, I think the most thing we use is AutoCAD, which is, again, that's the baseline and that's the standard for the architectural industry. Design as well. Most of it is SketchUp. There's Lumion. There's a couple other ones, like if you want a photorealistic, those things. But I want to say SketchUp and CAD is probably the most common, the most frequently used software for design. And then also from that, you can you pull up data for estimation, square footage, things like that. So I think as far as estimation, we have John developed kind of like a custom estimating, not software, but I say we have a matrix that we use. It's not really anyone's, it's just ours specifically, and it's just updated with all the plant pricing, labor costs, all the things. So in fact, a lot of times we can, you work with contractors that, whether it's a small time, we can tell them how much they will cost better than they can, because they just kind of like eyeballing a lot of things. It's a mom and pops. It's usually Latin guys with the trucks, whatever. Like, they're good at what they do. It kind of, curate our contractors, because I'm like, I want the quality, but I also don't want to babysit. I have 2 kids. I don't want to like have another one. So the goal is that you talk to me, I talk to you. I pay you on time. I pay you what you want. I take care of you. I'll call you the same thing back. So it's it's a two-way relationship. So I think from like estimating, we have a kind of our own software we use. A matrix. Again, it's like a national based labor cost and just variety of things, and it's adjusted over time because of the material cost goes up and down, labor cost changes, things like that. But we use that for our proposals. And as far as accounting, they're not at the point where it's all kind of done Excel for most part. We're not using QuickBooks at this point. I think we're still able to manage everything in-house. I think we have accountant that does taxes and things like that for us. But as far as accounting, just to kind of like billing, it's all done in-house right now.
Just for the audience, because the goal for like everything I'm trying to preach or ask about this, that the goal here is to be more nationally known here. Do you and your crews facilitate work outside of Texas, or is there tax implications and so forth? Would you travel for work, or is it just for you in Dallas?
Some ideas for design and stuff. It's tough. If the money is there, we're certainly open to that. If remote within Texas is so big, we've had some opportunities to look at design outside of DFW area, Dallas Fort Worth. Again, a lot of times clients don't want to pay the premium or per diem or travel and things like that, yeah, we'd certainly be open to it because oftentimes quality control is the big thing for us. Is that, if I'm designing something, I could design everything for you and hand you. It's tough because we find that if you're building it, you should be doing all the design and construction because otherwise I have to manage it, I have to oversee it, I have to visit the sites, you have to kind of be hands-on. So we're open to national projects, but again, if the money is there, we'll certainly be open. But most of our work's been local.
Okay. And I guess the handling of the operation, that's between the two of you guys. Just a few more here. Do you guys have? I have an understanding where the answer might be. Do you have a projected kind of stepping stone at 1 year, 2 year, or is it more or less what you kind of already covered?
Probably more or less what I've covered. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think again, it's a mixture of growth, intended growth, intentional growth, not just grabbing off with architects or builders that have like we're currently right now started working with a new architect, hoping certainly to be a fruitful relationship. But the idea is that they truly high on details, high on, foreseeing things like costs and that, because what's ended up being with us is that oftentimes we work with a home builder. So they'll build a house and let's say you're a homeowner, right? They're like, hey, Sonny, we got your house, it's 2 million. And well, how much the exterior costs? I don't know, 100,000. So they don't often, because house is usually the priority, the external part, which we focus on, is kind of an afterthought. So, and oftentimes they don't budget correctly. And therefore, if we ever end up having to work with a client, they're usually exhausted because they're probably went over budget on house. They're tired. And so when we come in, we're like, oh no, it's not going to be 100,000. Like for your house, it's going to be, double the cost. And they're like frustrated. Like the architect that I'm talking about, they're actually doing an excellent job, which is doesn't seem like crazy idea, but they're designing a house and getting a fairly accurate estimates ahead of time, maybe within plus minus 5% of cost difference, not just like pencil whipping it, but saying to the low cost. So this way, when the builder sells it to the homeowner, it's not 100% on, but it's probably 95% accurate. So it's not a wild, yeah.
So the delta is not so big for the homeowners when it comes.
Yeah, because oftentimes builders, again, I think it's again for the builders, for anybody, it's humans.
Yeah.
So humans kind of just guessing and as they see their pants. So you want to close a deal, and oftentimes people will promise things, and we'll figure out later. And then the later figures out like we're the end of the line. Of we often get a client that's like doesn't have any money, they're tired, they're just like, listen, I just want to buy a plant, just put it over there. So and that's kind of the idea is that doing more work with people that understand and value what we do, because we certainly value what builders bring to the table, what architects bring to the table, but it kind of has to be both ways. Like we're happy to help, but help me help you kind of deal. And I usually, if that's actually the case, it works beautiful.
I have one more, and then I love asking this last question. I'm listening to you talk. I love what I'm hearing. And I just put myself in a space that if I was watching this episode for the first time, what is a word that describes you and your partner or you and your company? And I believe the word is trust. From what I've gathered right now, I believe that you trust your workforce, you trust your partnership, you're trusting the architects that you're building the relationships because they're coming to talk to you. Tell me, Alex, how much, and correct me if I'm wrong, how much you value trust, and is that an essential pillar of your business?
Just in life in general, like welcoming. That's a word. But trust is definitely big because also say, hey, I'm trusting you without paying you, without I'm allowing you to work with me, whatever it is, you're obviously trusting me as well. So and sometimes 100%, yeah. Like, and I'm more of a like, I'll trust you, even though I don't know you, I might vet you as much as I can. But how much can you really vet until you really get in the
Yep.
deep waters with somebody, right? So, and it's up to you to break that trust. So if you're like, don't do the things we agreed on, you don't deliver, it's like, all right, well, obviously I made a bad choice. It's certainly been both ways. Amazing people that we met, like, well, whether it's this relationship, I think that the idea of what the relationship is that it's an agreement that you will grow together. And the key is that you want to grow in the same direction and more or less the same pace. I think if once you don't grow in the same direction, and if you don't grow at the same space or the same pace, that's when you kind of start falling apart. You think of any relation, it's like, oh, I'm over here, you're over here. Oh, I'm willing to change and grow and adjust. You like, nah, let's just stick with the old stuff. So it's kind of like that's where the compromise, that flexibility comes in. Some people are, I find, again, I stay flexible and I try to be adaptable. I'm willing to grow. I would like to think, it's not the case, but that's kind of how I see it. So I think trust is definitely big among other.
Beautiful. What would you, the point of this podcast is beyond the blueprint with the future and so forth. So, one of my favorite questions I'd like to ask about is anything you would like to change about your past that brought you to this point right here, right now, whether it be in life or even good work, partnership, earlier, whatever it may be.
Most part, I'm very happy where I try to be grateful for what I have and, obviously keep growing and keep getting better with every day. I thought I was smart in my 20s. I was an idiot. Thought I was smart in my 30s and I'm an idiot as well. So I think it's like, again, the goal was always just to get better. And now, probably still an idiot, but at least I'm a little more aware. The goal is, I think, I am, the sum of everything that happened to me. So I'm happy to where I am.
Whether it be email, phone, website, please spell it out. This has been a pleasure, absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Our website is Mary David Charlie. It's ALEX at mbcmade.com. 646-246-9300. Yeah, happy to, if someone's interested in reaching out, any questions that potentially want to work together.
And also like the design. I know clearly you guys you're a contractor that does the design as well. So it's guys, I can echo what Alex said. It's been very easy to work with him. There was a week where Alex was unavailable. There was a week I was unavailable. Times on didn't work. There was a desire to work together to get this information out there. So I do appreciate Alex, your patience. It's been great. Know that if there is an opportunity to work with him, you'd be very happy with. So thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So thanks, Alex. Wait. So Alex, thank you, my man.